Now a Target 12 investigators exclusive, short on safety.
In January, a player's collapse during Monday Night Football, and the people who saved his life underscored the important role of athletic trainers. For some, watching that moment felt all too familiar.
My wife and I have thought about this for a long time, but by the grace of God, she'd be by herself.
But data from Rhode Island public high schools shows less than a quarter of districts have full-time athletic trainers.
Target 12 investigator Tolly Taylor joins us now with the details.
One local expert says for districts that want to hire full-time athletic trainers, they're just not available. And he says the decline across the state and the country has been years in the making. In January, Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin made a tackle on Monday Night Football, stood up, and then fell to the ground in cardiac arrest. Other players looked on as athletic trainers and medical staff administered CPR until an ambulance arrived to take Hamlin to the hospital. What went through your mind when you saw what happened to Damar Hamlin?
I don't want to get too emotional. It's the first time that it pointed out to me just exactly what happened to me.
Like Hamlin, George Hanrahan, sitting beside his wife in an interview with Target 12, experienced a cardiac arrest after an accidental hit to the chest. Hanrahan's occurring with a student athlete while he was refereeing a Pontiac girls basketball game in 2018. What do you think would have happened that day if medical personnel hadn't responded?
I would have died.
Pontiac high school athletic trainer Salvatore Palermo was in the gym that day. And Palermo, along with an EMT in the stands, rushed to Hanrahan's side.
And then you just see him hit the floor, and that's the uh-oh moment.
CPR saved Hanrahan's life. This photo showing Hanrahan and Palermo at an award presentation after the incident.
The legs were definitely shaking after that one. That's just one day I'll probably never ever forget in my life.
But not every Rhode Island gym has someone like Palermo watching over it. Target 12 asked all 31 public school districts with high school athletics if they have full-time athletic trainers. Of the 21 districts that responded, only 5 have full-time athletic trainers at all of their schools. The rest reported using per diem or part-time athletic trainers, or depend on local EMTs to show up. Many reported prioritizing football games, sometimes leaving other full-contact sports like ice hockey, lacrosse, or basketball uncovered. Is that surprising to you?
Well, a lot of schools had athletic trainers, and in the last few years, we've seen a decline.
Rhode Island Interscholastic League Executive Director Michael Lunny says there's a shortage of athletic trainers in Rhode Island and across the country.
Many of our districts have funds in place for athletic trainers and just can't fill the positions.
Rhode Island high school coaches are required to be trained in CPR and first aid, but he says that does not address the root cause.
None of our colleges and universities offer athletic training as a major.
I'm alive because of it. I'm alive because someone knew how to do what they did.
Coming up at 6, I asked schools what they're doing if they don't have full-time athletic trainers to keep student athletes safe. With the Target 12 investigators, I'm Tolly Taylor, 12 News.
Stephen, thank you. New details now in a Target 12 investigators exclusive, short on safety.
Athletic trainers are often the first to respond in a sports emergency, but we've discovered there are no universities in Rhode Island that provide the necessary schooling. As we told you last hour, data from public high schools shows less than a quarter of districts have full-time athletic trainers.
Target 12 investigator Tolly Taylor joins us now with the details.
A cardiac arrest during a high school basketball game in 2018 highlighted 2 things: how vital it was to have an athletic trainer on hand, and why planning ahead for such emergencies is so important. After George Hanrahan collapsed in cardiac arrest while he was refereeing a Pontiac high school girls basketball game in 2018, the school's athletic trainer Salvatore Palermo and an EMT in the stands jumped up to help him, quickly performing CPR on Hanrahan.
We all know that, inevitability comes to all of us as human beings. I've gotten to live 7, 8 years more.
Hanrahan, sitting beside his wife in an interview with Target 12, says he's grateful for their actions.
I would have died. And my wife and I have thought about this for a long time, but by the grace of God, she'd be by herself.
Ponegantset, part of the Foster-Gloucester School District, is one of just 5 Rhode Island public school districts that tell Target 12 they have a full-time athletic trainer. 16 districts say they hire part-time trainers or EMTs during games, and 10 did not respond. But many districts report prioritizing football games, sometimes leaving other full-contact sports like ice hockey, lacrosse, or basketball uncovered.
It's really crucial and important for every secondary school, public, private, in the state of Rhode Island to have an athletic trainer.
But Rhode Island Athletic Trainers Association President Christina Keddy says in the absence of a trainer, a combination of coaches who are required to be CPR and first aid certified and school staff working together can provide a valuable safety net.
Which is why it's so important to have an emergency action plan.
The Rhode Island Interscholastic League recommends that every school create an emergency action plan, which assigns coaches and staff specific jobs during an emergency.
Maybe it's to flag down the ambulance and help guide them onto the field for quick, easy access, or crowd control.
But Lincoln School athletic trainer Jennifer Gallant says to create the best emergency action plan,
having a full-time athletic trainer really guides that process, guides that athletic department.
Rhode Island Interscholastic League Executive Director Michael Lunny says the shortage of athletic trainers has happened over the past few years in Rhode Island and nationally. To become one, you now need to have a master's degree. And he says students have to go to Massachusetts or Connecticut to get that degree.
We need more trainers certified.
Do you feel like this is something that needs more statewide attention?
I mean, in my case, someone was qualified and saved my life.
Foster-Gloucester's superintendent says having a full-time athletic trainer that day helped save Hanrahan's life and ensure student athletes are safe at all times. She says the district's emergency action plan was first implemented in 2013 and is reviewed annually. With the Target 12 investigators, I'm Tolly Taylor, 12 News.